Hello lovely souls, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, I'm Chiara. I'm a freelance illustrator and artist capturing the people, places and stories of our planet. And if you're not new here, then welcome back. I'm loving YouTube. I don't know what it is, but I just love it. I feel like it can be very me and that's a nice feeling. So thank you. Thank you for helping me create this space that I feel like I can just share my authentic self, you know? I know authentic is a buzzword at the moment, but it's true. I feel very authentically me. This video is actually inspired by comments and messages I've received from previous videos. So if that doesn't go to show that engagement is so important and so appreciated, I love connecting with people. It makes it feel worthwhile because sometimes I'm just sitting here drawing for hours on end by myself in my studio, and whilst I'm kind of an introverted soul these days, I would say that I'm like an extroverted introvert. Like I love engaging with people and then I need to be by myself to recharge. Being able to connect with people through my work means everything. So please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, message me if you have questions. I'm very open and I want to pass on whatever wisdom I have to give. I want to pass it on. Don't be scared to drop me a message. This video, like I said, is inspired by many comments that I've received, and you guys love a painting process video, and quite frankly I love to make them. So this video is from start to finish, and I mean from start to finish, from really ugly sketches to the finished painting. That seems to be what you wanted, so that's what I'm giving you. And I answer your questions throughout whilst I paint. So I guess there's not really anything else to say apart from enjoy.
Hello. First up, I get asked about materials a lot, and especially sketchbooks, which is interesting because I'm not the biggest aesthetic sketchbooker, but I find sketchbooks incredibly helpful for brain dumping, to sort of rid of the not so good ideas to make space in my head for the better ones. And I've been using this generic A5 moleskin one now for years, and I have to preface that this book really isn't that great for mixed media or painting because the paper texture is very thin and smooth, so it kind of wrinkles, but I definitely would recommend for thumbnails, concept building, quick sketches, note taking. There's a lot of pages, so you don't really feel the need to be precious with it, and I actually just like that I feel free to make a mess. If I'm painting in a sketchbook, however, my favourite affordable ones are the Royal Talents Art Creation. They are super inexpensive, available in every colourway, size, etc. that you can think of, and they have the nicest paper quality for all media types, especially for the price. Those are my sketchbook recommendations. The concept building stage for me is crucial, and as you can see, I go from scribbly thumbnails to a very light sketch to then a darker sketch. I'll then scan this, enlarge it, and then from here I will begin to finalise the artwork ready to be transferred onto my painting paper. At the moment I really like using cold press paper, and that is because I'm working with gouache in a much more fluid consistency than I used to. When I worked with it in a thicker opacity, I much preferred hot press paper. So I think it's very dependent on how you use your materials, and that then varies what other materials you also use. So that's why I don't like to recommend just one thing, because it's all about practice and preference. So for me right now, this is what I like to use, and it just seems to be working with my style. This idea actually came from a quick coffee stop during my work break. I don't know if you guys are aware of Blank Street, and I'm not really one for trends. However, matcha is having a moment, and I'm personally a black coffee kind of gal, so I went in for a black coffee. But I just loved the vibrancy of this cafe and the vibrancy of matcha itself. So I used that as like my starting point for inspiration, because the amount of pretty little ladies in this cafe and their cute little spring outfits, I just wanted to make that the basis of this painting. And the whole painting collection that I'm building at the moment, they all have elements that link them to another painting within the collection. So if you're paying attention, you'll notice there's little things that will appear in each painting that link back to another one. And the reason for this will become clearer later on in the year, because I'm hoping, if I have time, to turn them into products. And I think it'll be fun for people to be able to like link each illustration back to another one. I'll say no more, because I don't know if time will be on my side to complete the amount of paintings I'm wanting to complete, but we'll keep working away. We'll see. I'll touch base again about that soon. I've had a few comments and questions about my background and how I started my business, how I make money, am I full-time, etc, etc. And I'd be curious to know if you'd enjoy a full video on this, because these are very loaded questions and I feel like I can't just answer it plain and simply. I feel like it needs like a whole dedicated video. Whilst my artistic journey has been ongoing, consistent and ever evolving, honestly, it's been so wobbly and unstable that to me would be very reassuring as an artist in the early stages to hear that, because I think sometimes we just watch people on Instagram or YouTube and think they have it all figured out, but really any creative practice is so up and down, and some months feel like, what on earth have I chose to do with my life? Why am I doing this? How am I going to make a living? How do I turn views into sales without feeling pushy? Or how do I get this client? It's very overwhelming. Having been in this industry now for about 5-ish years, I can hand on heart say that every month is different. And I think there's both beauty and genuine dread in the uncertainty that comes with building a creative business. I think it would be fun, helpful, perhaps eye-opening and reassuring to people out there to do like a whole video about this topic. So yeah, drop me a message or drop me a comment. Okay, gouache has become very popular, especially in the illustration world. I've only tried a few brands, but I still swear by Winsor & Newton's designer gouache. Hashtag not sponsored, although I would love to be. It has taken years to get to a place of using this material with ease. So if you're new to it, persevere and don't be scared to try and use it in different ways. I went through a phase of wanting to produce quite graphic and flat paintings, and at this point I would use the gouache in a very thick, flat, opaque consistency. But as you can see, I'm applying it completely differently to that now, and that is because I like to layer it with pencils and add a lot of texture and details, which is easier for me to do if I water the paint down. It's also great because I get much more use out of the paint, and I can leave it on my palette and come back to use it days after. So it comes back to that personal preference and practice, really. Since beginning YouTube, I've had multiple questions and comments asking if I have Patreon, and I currently don't. It seems to be of interest, and I'm now considering it. So I would love to know, is this something you are interested in? And if you choose to support me through Patreon, what would you be looking for exactly? What would you enjoy? What would keep you hooked and want to subscribe? Because I have an idea of what I would want to give you, but I would love to hear from you. Okay, back to process questions. This painting took approximately 5 days, and that includes concept thumbnails and even digitizing the painting to then turn it into a print. I could have probably completed it quicker, but a girl has got to move. She's got miles to run, she's got muscles to be stretched. I get really antsy and anxious, and when that happens, I tell myself to get out of my head and into my body. And movement for me actually really helps my creative practice. I would highly recommend that you move away from your desk now and then. They say that the devil's in the detail, but I prefer to say that the soul is in the specifics. And you've probably noticed by now that my work doesn't really come to life until I start to add the details, especially within my little characters, and they are the primary focus of my work, I would say. It's through their little faces that I try to create a warmth and calm to the overall painting. Recently, I've tried to create an atmosphere within all my illustration work that feels like you're pressing pause on a really precious moment in time where everything comes into focus and time stands still. I decided to mix between Caran d'Ache and Faber-Castell pencils. I love both, but for very, very different reasons. Caran d'Ache have an incredible colour range, like insane, and the pigmentation is beautiful. However, I find them a little bit too soft, whereas Faber-Castell are amazing for the tiny, tiny details. So yeah, pros to each, I guess, but it just depends again on what you prefer. Clients. So, I get a lot of questions about how I find clients. I want to do a dedicated video on this because there is a lot to be said. To briefly answer this, however, I used to email, apply and scour the internet for editors and art directors to find jobs and opportunities. Whilst I've secured a few jobs this way, I've also been completely ghosted or rejected more times than I care to admit. Freelance is definitely not for the faint-hearted, let me tell you that much. Since starting my business 5-ish years ago, this is the first year I've taken my foot off the gas with cold calling because I found that I was just spending hours of my day curating emails to be sent out to dream clients and then never hearing back. So I've tried to adopt a new habit this year, and that involves me making more work. I'm trying to attract the jobs I want by creating the art that I love. And you could say that this approach has had some success because 2 of my main clients this year have come about from doing that. So who knows, maybe we just need to fret a little less and create a little more. I'd be lying if I said this piece turned out as I wanted. Honestly, that's actually helped me reframe how I'm viewing this project, as it's given me more ideas. Sometimes you can plan and plan and plan, but life things, emotions, all the in-betweens can completely change the outcome of your creations. That's kind of the beauty of creative practices. I will never forget what my high school art teacher told me. He would always say, never say you're finished. Artwork is never finished. Art is a continuous development. Sure, you might be finished with this specific surface, but that doesn't mean it's finished. And as a child, I found this statement frustrating, to say the least, because I equated his words to allude that it wasn't perfect. But now, 10 years on, I find it freeing. I'm not as fixated on the outcome of each illustration, but more so the story it tells of my artistic development. I really hope that you found this video helpful, and if not helpful, then relaxing, and if not relaxing, then enjoyable, and if you found it to tick all those boxes, then great. To answer one last question, it is where you can find these prints, because somebody did message me and they're all available on my shop. I've linked everything below for you. Every bit of support, big or small, goes such a long way, and it is so appreciated. So I just want to say thank you in advance if you do choose to support me through buying my artwork, subscribing to my channel, messaging me on Instagram. Like, all these things don't go unnoticed. It means I can continue to do what I love every day. So thank you. And until next time, lovely souls, bye.